Good news! The big one's new track has been lifted into place. Filmed on Monday the 28th of February and Tuesday the 1st of March 2022, in some challenging weather conditions and okay weather conditions, this video will show all of the new track sections being lifted into place. I intend to give as much detailed commentary and analysis over the footage I filmed on the retracking days, starting with the beginning of this particular project. In late December 2021, around 100 metres of track was removed from the big one, but the new track had already been in development from August time in 2021. The new track was designed and manufactured by Tazica Industrial, who had previously worked with the Pleasure Beach on 2 previous Big One retracking projects. For more about Tazica, there'll be a link at the end of this video to a video we made about the manufacturing of the Big One's track, and in the video description there'll be a link to Tazica's website too. Once that the track has been lowered into place, the crew on the scaffolding will start putting bolts in and slightly adjust the position of the track each time before it reaches its rightful position. I'm not a technically minded person, so please excuse the non-technical terminology being used in this video. I'm just describing it as I saw it at the time. Slightly off the subject of technicalities, the footage of the track going in wasn't all filmed from the same place. The lower sections behind the Big Blue Hotel will be very visible later on in the video. You may notice straight away that the new track sections have more cross ties than the old track sections, reducing the centre-to-centre spacing of the running rail supports. This will help reduce fatigue in the long term. This has actually been the case with all of the new track manufactured by Tazica so far. Once the first section of track had been lifted in, the crew moved to the other end, block brake, or in geeky terms, the mid-course brake run. Each of the far ends were lifted into place first so that they could then work inwards from there. Whilst this section was going in, the weather started to worsen, and I was starting to think I needed to find somewhere a little bit warmer to film from. So whilst the bolts were put in, and the second section was lined up into its rightful place, I made a dash for the Big Blue Hotel to see if I could reserve a room, check straight in, and watch the rest of the Retrack from the dry and with an excellent viewpoint. Luckily, I was able to book and check straight in, but had to make my way back outside to check which bit of track was going in next so I could be in the right place for filming. The third section of track to go in was to be joined to the second section which had just been lifted in. Track section number 4 incoming. This was a continuation of the track going downwards from Block Break towards the gap through Big Dipper. Once the track is almost in place, it is noticeable from this footage that the track section is slowly moved into its rightful position with adjustments to the crane's cabling on the track and bolts slightly being inched into place. This was fascinating to watch, even though I've watched quite a lot of the big ones retracking work over recent years. It was fascinating because I hadn't seen any of the track sections manoeuvred into place like this before. The fifth track section to be lifted in meant a move back outside for me, as this one was going onto Star Hill. Track section 6 was also to go on Star Hill. The rain was still worsening at this point, so I didn't film quite as much of this as I would have liked to have done. I would have got it from the Big Blue Hotel, but there was a rather large obstacle in the way, For track section 7, I did stay in the Big Blue, even with the tree being an obvious obstacle for filming. But I did get a couple of shots of it once it was in place. This brings an end to day 1 of the track lift. Here we go then, day 2 of the big one Retrack, and the weather is significantly better than yesterday in terms of it's not raining. It's actually colder than it was yesterday, but it's a blue sky. And it's got me thinking about those blue sky days going around on the big one, so hopefully it won't be too long now with the Retrack taking place today and of course yesterday. The next track sections arrived on site bright and early. I was sat having breakfast in the Big Blue, and through the windows saw a lorry with Retrack on it heading on site. These sections were a continuation of the track coming down from Star Hill and towards the cut through beneath Big Dipper. Filming this from the path outside the hotel would have been tough, and of course there was the tree obstacle to contend with too, so in all honesty I didn't film much of these sections going in. There's 4 sections left to go in on the big one now. 2 of the new sections have just arrived on the back of a lorry. Typically the M6 is very busy today, so it has delayed the guys getting the track here. However, it's still early. I'm just going to check the time now. The time of filming is 10 o'clock. They've been at it since 7:45 this morning, and the weather's still holding out for everyone, which is good. So the last 4 sections to go in are these bits sort of immediately in front of us here, which is great for me because of where I'm stood. Now I know the tree's in the way, but I am going to do my best to get the bit going in under Big Dipper because I'm really curious to see how they're going to do it. The next track section was the section which I had the best view out of them all. This was due to it being joined with track section 4, which leads up to block break. This was exactly the type of view I was hoping to get of the ongoing work when I made the decision to book into the Big Blue. It's going to be interesting to see what this particular bit of the big one will be like once it's reopened. On a clear day in the past, this bit of the ride has always been very good. I still think it'll be very good with the airtime moment into block break. The following track section was the most fascinating of them all, and probably one of the trickiest, if not the trickiest, for the crew involved. This section of track was to be fitted at the bottom of the hill up into block break, which meant it had to be delicately lowered next to the Big Dipper. I can't deny I was very excited to watch this section go in. I hope you enjoy the footage that follows. The last section was also a complex one, but unfortunately it's one which I had very little visibility of from inside the Big Blue and outside on the walkway. I did try to get as much footage of it as possible, including a zoomed in shot of Big Dipper to try and pinpoint exactly where the track was going. So there we go, 103 metres of new Big One track is now in place. It has been fascinating as ever to watch the ongoing work, so I would like to say thank you to everyone involved with the project for prolonging the lifespan of this great coaster. Whether you work for the Pleasure Beach, an engineering consultancy, Tazica, or anyone else on the project, a big thank you from Pleasure Beach Experience for carrying out this massive project. Personally, I'd like to say thanks to those who've spoken to me whilst I've been out and about filming all of this too. In the coming weeks, I hope to do a video which details this project from start to finish with some previously unused footage. In the meantime, many thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon in the next Pleasure Beach Experience video.